Hello, I'm Tony from Bonners, and if you haven't seen me for a while, that's because I've been busy overseeing the opening of the new Bonners Piano and Keyboard Centre in Newcastle. But I'm back in the studio, and today I'm bringing you this new video on the Roland V-Stage. So the V-Stage is a powerful instrument that really comes into its own once you start creating your own sounds. With its straightforward operating system, building splits and layers is quick and easy, and it's capable of producing some of the best live performance sounds that I've used. In this video, I'll show you my tips and tricks for getting the most out of it. Now, Roland has also just released version 1.1 firmware, which adds a vocoder, as well as dedicated multi-effects and reverb for the mic input. So this is the perfect time to revisit the instrument and see what it can really do for everyday keyboard players like me, whether you're in a local band, working in the studio, or just playing at home for pleasure. I've recreated a few of my most used sounds that work brilliantly on stage, and I'll walk you through how I built them, and even better, I'm giving those sounds away completely free. Just visit bonnersmusic.co.uk/vstage and fill in the form, and we'll send the sounds to you. If you'd like to try the V-Stage for yourself, you can find it at a local Bonners piano and keyboard store. We've got shops in Sussex, Surrey, Milton Keynes and Newcastle, or order online at bonnersmusic.co.uk, where we've got excellent trade-in offers and flexible finance options available too. So let's power up the V-Stage and get creating some sounds. So before I get started with my demo, let's just go over a few basic specs and workflow principles of the V-Stage. Firstly, there are two models, the full-size 88-key hammer action weighted keyboard that I've got here, or a 76-key semi-weighted waterfall keyboard that also has channel aftertouch. In keeping with the standard layout of many stage keyboards of the present time, Roland has divided the panel into separate sections, with the organ on the left, piano and e-piano sections in the middle, and a dual layer synth section and master effects on the right. All parts can be individually switched on and off, layered together, or assigned to the upper or lower section of the keyboard. Once you've created your perfect sound, you can give it a name and store it in one of 512 memory locations. These locations are known as scenes, and these are what you would select when playing in a live performance. There's a nice big screen in the middle that clearly shows the scene you've got selected, as well as allowing you to access the deeper function menus when you're programming your sounds. If we take a quick look on the rear panel, one thing I really like on the V-Stage instruments is the inclusion of the XLR balanced outputs, and this makes it perfect for use in a professional environment without the need for a DI box. There are also two sets of assignable jack outputs, so you can, for instance, route bass voices out of separate jacks to a bass amp, which is something that I do when I'm playing left-hand bass on stage. There are also stereo 1/4-inch jack inputs for connecting an external music player, which I'll be doing later in this video. There are multiple foot controller inputs, standard 5-pin MIDI sockets, and a generous amount of USB device ports, which makes it easy for backing up your sounds and transferring them to other keyboards. The first thing you need to do when you power up your V-Stage is to check it's running the latest firmware, and this ensures you have all the latest features and updates, including the fabulous new vocoder feature. If you do a quick Google search for Roland V-Stage firmware, you should find the link to the Roland website, which will tell you the latest version. I'm running 1.1 in this machine, but I'm sure that in the future there'll be more updates to bring even more new functionality. So check your keyboard's current firmware version by going to the Info sub-menu in the Utility section. Secondly, I suggest you download the free Roland Cloud app on your computer so you can install all the free content that Roland is giving away for the V-Stage, and this includes the 4 model expansions, which are the Dyno 106, Jupiter 8, JX8P and SH101, plus the Prismatic Layers Scene Pack. Once you've installed all these on your keyboard, you're good to go. So let's begin with the piano sound. There are 73 acoustic piano tones in the V-Stage, and I'm going to start by playing you one of my favourite piano sounds, which is called German Concert. To my ears, this voice has exactly the right balance of depth and bite, which is what you need when playing on stage, especially amongst other instruments in a band. So although it works great for that kind of rock style piano playing, it also works for ballads as well. Now if I activate the synth section, I've pre-assigned a string voice to the synthesizer section, but what I've done is I've only put it on the left-hand side of the keyboard split. So what that means is that I've got the strings in my lower registers of the keyboard, but in the top half you'll just hear the piano on its own, so it gives it the opportunity to ring out. So whilst we're talking about splitting the keyboard, I've got here a classic kind of jazz piano split. So I've got my piano in the right hand there, and I've got a bass and a ride cymbal in the left hand. So it gives you this kind of effect. Now I just wanted to draw your attention to a control that's on the panel here in the piano section, which is called stereo width. And what this does is you can expand the stereo width of the piano sound so it's nice and wide and sounds great in lush stereo, and that's particularly nice when you're playing at home or in the studio. But when you're playing in a live band or sometimes in some recording situations, you might want to have a sound that's a little bit more focused within the stereo field. So if I just show you, this is with the full width of the stereo sound. If I turn that control right down now, it focuses the sound in the center of the stereo field. And that's great if you want your sound to sit in the mix a bit better, or even cut through a bit better when you're playing on stage with a band. So as I said earlier, the V-Stage has auxiliary inputs on jack on the back, which allows you to plug in external audio devices. So I've actually plugged my mobile phone in to the back of the keyboard, and I'm going to use it to play along with a backing track, just to show you how the piano sound works in a mix with other instruments as well. So remember that I said that it's possible to layer all the parts together if you need to. Something that I use quite a lot is to have a piano sound and then layer it with the organ voice as well. So I've already set up an organ sound here, and I've actually assigned the volume of the organ to the modulation wheel, and I find that really useful because when you're on stage, again, it's easy to just move that mod wheel to bring in and out the sound of the organ. Of course, you could assign the expression of the organ to a pedal if you wanted to as well, but sometimes when you're playing, you're nice to have that control with your hand as well. So as you can see, it's quite a convincing Tonewheel organ sound. So I'm going to switch the piano sound off just so we can hear the organ on its own. I just wanted to show you a few things on here. So I'm just going to bring out the first 4 drawbars, and you get this kind of sound. So and you've got rotary speaker controls here, fast and slow and stop, same here, and also you can assign that to a foot switch as well. Now, if you want to give it a bit more grit and a bit more dirt, then just bring up the overdrive control. Now, one of my favourite drawbar combinations is what we call an upside down smiley face. So you basically bring the bottom and the top drawbars all the way out, and then the ones next to those just a little bit less, and you end up with a upside down smiley face, as we call it. But this is just a really good usable organ sound that you better use if you're backing in a band or something. Let's just bring that overdrive down a little bit as well. So that's just a couple of my useful combinations that I use when I'm playing this kind of a keyboard in a band situation. So as well as piano voices, the V-Stage is capable of producing thousands of different sounds, and that's because it's got Roland's Zencore sound chip in it. Now, to get the most out of this, what you really need to do is download the Zenology sound editor, which I've got a screen image of that behind me there. They do two versions. There's the standard version, then there's a pro version. But this allows you to really get the most out of the thousands of sounds that this synth is capable of producing. There's loads of onboard sounds anyway, but if you can't find what you're looking for, I guarantee you'll probably be able to find it if you use the Zenology editor, and it just gives you access to all of the samples and everything that's on the sound chip in the keyboard. Now, I was recently asked to produce a patch for the introduction to Elton John's Pinball Wizard, so I just thought I'd just show you how I've created that on the V-Stage. So I'm going to switch off the piano sections at the moment, and I'm just going to show you what I've got in the synth section. So first of all, I've got a nice Jupiter 8 slow string patch. And then I've got two different piano sounds going on here. So I've got a standard stage acoustic piano sound. But I've also layered that with what's called SA piano. Now, back in the 1980s, Roland released a stage piano called the RD1000, and Elton John was one of the pro players that used that on stage at the time, and it had this kind of sound. Now, it's not particularly realistic piano sound by today's standards, but Elton absolutely loved that sound because he said that piano responded and kind of lived and breathed like an acoustic piano did. But what Elton has been doing in recent times is layering that sound with the sound of an acoustic piano. So I'll do the two together. Now that gives me a much brighter, richer, fuller-bodied sound. And then finally, I'm going to layer that with a choir voice as well, and you get this huge sound. So another sound that I use an awful lot when I'm on stage is the sound of the clav or clavinet, and it's a really great funky sound, and the V-Stage doesn't disappoint when it comes to clav sounds. Now, there's an amp simulator in the electric piano section, which is where you find the clav sounds, and if I switch that on, I can give it just a bit more overdrive, which gives it a bit of a dirtier sound. And then finally, what I love is the auto wire. So if I switch that on, you get this kind of sound. So now I've taken the clav voice and I've layered a synth bass on the left hand here. So Still got the clav on its own in the middle. And then here, I've got the piano as well. Again, it's layered with the clav. You can just hear the clav coming through in the back there. So you can get this kind of effect. So another popular sound is the sound of the Rhodes, and the V-Stage really has got fantastic electric piano voices in it, as you're going to hear now. Now I must say it really is a joy to play that sound. You've got all the kind of key off noises and the hammer noises and things, and also when I press the pedal you can even hear it lift the dampers off of the tines. It just sounds great. So a sound that became really popular in the 70s was the EP sound, but put through a Dyno EQ, and that completely changes the character of the voice. So I'm going to play you another Rhodes type sound out, but this is using the Dyno EQ. So I really love the attack and the bite of the Dyno EQ. So if we're sticking with electric pianos just for a little bit longer, a classic sound from the 80s is of course the sound of the FM electric piano. Now I've found a really great combination you can use, and this kind of gives you that kind of David Foster sort of sound, which is a sound where you layer an acoustic piano with the FM electric piano. So if we just play that same little intro again, but now I've added the acoustic piano as well. So to make it even better, you could add the sound of a synth pad as well. And then finally, I'm going to put a synth bass in the left hand as well. So if I switch on the second synth part, then I've got a bass sound here, layered with the piano as well. And I've still got the choir and the EP, and you just get this lovely lush sound, which is just brilliant for ballads. So another really useful combination is to have a nice pad sound in your left hand and a synth lead in the right. But what I like to do is to be able to hold that pad sound using my sustain pedal, which then leaves my hands free to do the solo. So whether you're using 2 hands for your solo or 1 hand to solo and 1 to use the control wheels on the left here. Got another great 4-part combination here. So I've got an acoustic piano, so again layered with that nice bright Roland SA piano. And then I'm going to add in a synth brass sound behind the piano. So and finally, at the very top of the keyboard, switch on the synth part again. So I've got 2 synth sounds, the synth brass, and then up here, I've got an orchestra here. And that's just to show you the versatility of being able to layer sounds and split the keyboard at the same time. So a lot of people on stage use at least 2 keyboards, but I find that if I've got an 88 note keyboard, certainly for smaller gigs and shows, I can get away with 1 keyboard just by splitting the range. So if I've got a piano voice here, I can also have maybe a brass sound here. And actually those brass sounds are really good on the V-Stage. It's a good sound. So here's an intro to a famous song, just to show you how those sounds sit in a mix. V-Stage has got a really good effects section as well, which is great for enhancing your sound. So I've got a string sound here. Switch on the multi-effects, which I've got a phaser assigned to that at the moment, and I get this kind of effect. And whilst we're on the subject of string sounds, that kind of brings me to the last combination of sounds that I want to show you, which is where I've got a piano sound here. And up here I've got a string sound as well. So I'm just going to end this, this demonstration with another little backing track for a famous song and use the string sounds. And I'm also going to use that phased string using the multi-effects as well. that wraps up my V-Stage demo and gives you just a taste of what the V-Stage is capable of. It's a really versatile instrument with loads of performance-friendly features, and I've only just scratched the surface here. So if you'd like to hear more sounds or see the V-Stage in action for yourself, do check out our website or visit one of the Bonner's piano and keyboard stores. As always, if you've got any questions, just drop them in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.